Hello and welcome. So today's video is going to be about the unsolved murder of a child. So I've got to do a little trigger warning here that this video will contain descriptions of child mutilation. In the early morning of the 27th of December 1888, 7-year-old John Gill left his home in Bradford, West Yorkshire to accompany the local milkman William Barrett on his round. John had accompanied William on his rounds many times before, so his parents were more than happy for John to go, knowing that he would be back later. But John never returned home. John's parents informed the police of the missing child and a search was began. William Barrett was questioned and said that he had dropped John off just before the end of his round, a few hundred yards from John's home. John was last seen around 8:30 a.m. sliding on ice at the top of his road with a group of boys. The search for John continued throughout the 27th and 28th of December. Everyone was searching for him, but they could find no trace of John. At around 7 a.m. on the 29th of December, Joseph Burke, a young lad in the employment of the local butcher, started his working day. He went into his boss's stable to get the horse ready for the day. While in the stable, Joseph cleaned it, and as he was getting rid of the horse manure, he noticed a bundle in the corner of the cart shed doors. The sack was investigated and it was discovered that inside the sack was the body of John Gill. He had been badly mutilated. The South Wales Echo describes the horror of his injuries. The unfortunate victim had been indescribably mutilated. Both legs had been cut off close to the body. The abdomen was slightly open and the intestines partly extracted. Both ears were cut off. There were other shocking disfigurements. When found, the limbs were tied to the body. The braces which the deceased had worn were used to bind the limbs to the trunk. The clothes of the boy were then wrapped around the body and the jacket enveloping the parcel. There was a sack found with the body with the name W. Mason, Derby Road, Liverpool printed upon it, and this, the police hope, will serve as a clue to the perpetrators of the crime. In the same article, the South Wales Echo then updated its readers on the mutilations John had received. The body of the little lad Gill was even more shockingly mutilated than first reported. Both legs and arms had been roughly chipped off. There were 2 stabs in the left chest. The heart had been torn out entirely and was stuck against the victim's throat. Both boots had been taken off the lad's feet and were pressed into the cavity of the abdomen in the region of the kidneys, whilst other parts of the body were practically cut away. As there was no blood found at the scene, the police believed that John had been killed elsewhere and then the body moved to where it was found. William Barrett, the milkman, became the prime suspect in John's murder and was quickly arrested. William Barrett was 23 years old. He was married with 1 child. He was known to be of good character, so the locals were rather shocked at his arrest. They believed that he was innocent. William appeared before the magistrates. There, the chief constable gave the reasons for William's arrest. He said that they had arrested William because John had not been seen again after he had left William, and that John had actually been seen by witnesses in William's company after the time that William said that he had left John. There was also a period of half an hour on Thursday night that William could not account for. The police believed that he might have been at the stable at this time. The police had discovered that the stable's floor had recently been swelled with water and a sheet was found at the stable with some stains that could have been blood on it. This sheet had been sent for testing to confirm this. A knife had been found in William's house that matched some of the wounds on John's body. At first, William denied that the knife was his, but he soon admitted that it was. William's wife and his friends were still not convinced that he had killed John. Many gave him excellent character references and they declared him to be the last man who would commit murder. A reporter visited William's wife where she told him that she had no doubt of her husband's innocence and that the police had come to her home and asked to see her cutlery. She had shown them her knives and they had selected the most formidable one that they could find and took it with them. William Barrett appeared before the magistrate again on the 9th of January 1889, where the evidence against him was presented. It lasted until the 11th of January. Just after lunchtime on that day, the chairman of the magistrates, Mr. Armitage, announced that they had considered all evidence against William and decided that there was no case against him, William was therefore discharged. After this announcement, there was a loud applause in the courtroom. When William left the courthouse, he was followed by a large cheering crowd. So John Gill's murder still remains unsolved. Some people reckon that police wanted to solve it, so they tried to pin it onto William Barrett, considering what his wife said about the police just turning up, having a look at her knives and then just taking the worst knife they could find away with them. They did try to trace the man whose name was on the side of the sack that was found with John's body, but they could find no trace of him. Now, some people have actually drew parallels between John's case and Jack the Ripper. The Ripper cases taking place only a little while before John's murder. John and the Ripper victims, they'd all basically been killed in the same way. They'd been murdered and then mutilated. People thought that to escape the heat in London for the murders, Jack the Ripper had decided to move to Bradford and carried on his murdering there. Though John does not contain the same victim profile as the other Ripper victims, as the other ones in London were all women and were all said to be prostitutes. So one thing that did make people think that Jack the Ripper had gone to Bradford was the story of a local tailor named Cahill. Now, he had actually come forward with the story on the day that John had disappeared, but for some reason the police had kept this a secret. He said that the evening before, he and his wife had attended a ball, and when they returned home the next day, the day that John disappeared, at around 10 o'clock in the morning, they found that their home had been broken into and ransacked. He said they found a pair of knives on the kitchen table arranged in a cross. On top of these knives was a note, and on one side of the note was said, "9:30, look out, Jack the Ripper has been." And on the other side of the note it said, "I have removed down to the canal side, please drop in, yours, Suicide." He also said that one of their clocks had stopped at 9:30. But of course we only have Mr. Cahill's version of this. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.